Hey folks, it's another episode of Cooking with Jan, and we'll see if this experiment works. Unfortunately, I've noticed that there's a slight ingredient miscalculation. I don't have red cabbage and I was wanting to use it in the recipe. But if you're planning on doing it, you'll need to slice some cabbage into more or less coleslaw. Very, not fine coleslaw, but chunky coleslaw. You'll need an apple of your choice. It's up to you what you want to use. Granny Smith, Macintosh, Pink Lady, a Spanish onion. You'll need molasses or brown sugar, all depending on what you prefer. Preferably non-refined brown sugar. Some Nakano, well, Nakano, it has to be some seasoned rice vinegar. It doesn't have to be seasoned, you can have it just plain. And I'm going to be putting in some sherry. Cooking one. This one's Holland House. And you're going to need a mixing bowl, and you're going to be using pork as part of the protein portion of the dish, which I'm thawing right now because I did a boo-boo. I thawed chicken instead of thawing pork, so I don't want to use chicken. It was half thawed, so back into the freezer. And potatoes as a side. So whatever you want to have as a side, it's up to you, but me, I'm going to be making myself some mashed potatoes. If I had time, I'd be doing roasted garlic mashed potatoes, but don't have the time for it. So I'm going to be simply doing just regular mashed potatoes with onion salt, sea salt, onion powder, sea salt, a little bit of black pepper, ginger, which goes well with mashed potatoes, and possibly some turmeric added in to give it some earthy flavor to it. And then with that, that'll be that. You'll need 2 pans, one to saute your ingredients that will go on your pork, which will be the apple, the onion, and these guys. And one deep dish pan for your pork, because you're going to do the Ramsay thing and try to seal the piece of pork loin that you'll have. I took a pork loin and basically chunked it up into pieces. Why? It's nice meat, it cooks well, it goes well with pretty much everything. And if you're not cooking the whole loin, like I can't, there's no point, I live alone. If I cook the loin, I'm going to be eating for 7 days some pork, so I decided to freeze it into individual pieces and saran wrap. It makes for some unfortunate garbage, but at least it keeps me solvent. I have money still in my pocket, I don't have to go worry about spending money. So you'll be searing off quickly the actual pork for as much as you can, and once it's seared lightly on all sides, you'll put it in the oven with the rest of the ingredients and cover it so that it doesn't dry out. So get your ingredients together and we'll be back to ingredient preparation. Now, you can prepare the ingredients whichever way you want. You'll need a sharp cooking knife to avoid having to hammer at it, and you'll want to prepare your onion the way you want. Now, you can either take it whole and cut it so that you have rings, more or less. You're not using batter, but for the sake of doing this recipe, I'm going to be using half an onion, well, both halves really, but I'm going to be slicing both in equal parts. Spanish onions are very, very sweet onions. And the meat is thawed. Now, if onions make you tear up, there is a few techniques that you can use. One of which that I've never tried, but apparently works miracles, is bread. Putting a piece of bread in your mouth. Apparently it absorbs the onion vapors, and instead of you crying your eyes out until there's no tomorrow, you end up somewhat tear-free. Now you'll want a bowl to place these ingredients. And the apple, well, the apple, you'll want to peel it. The simple fact that apple peel tends to toughen up, especially with vinegar. Now you can also do this variation with apple. The reason why I'm using apple is because it's has a tart bite and a sweet. Holy Jesus! That onion is strong. I'll move it to the side so I stop tearing up. As I was saying, it has a sweet and tart bite that will hopefully go along well with what I'm going to be doing to the pork. I'm not going to be overly preparing it much. The whole thing is going to be just salt, pepper, now one thing that will help the cooking process is if you score your meat. It's best if your meat is thawed. Tastes much better. You can use an apple core if you so wish. I'm too lazy to use mine. And for God's sakes, be careful not to cut yourselves, because what I'm doing right now is risque. Oh, clean that later. And your apples, you're going to cut into chunks, but you'll do it this way. That's one. Actually, I'll leave one right here. I didn't bring out a bowl for that. That's okay. And the same for this guy. That said, you've got your ingredients ready. The only other thing that you'll need to do is to score your meat. I'll show you in a moment what I mean by score if you've never seen it. Maybe still half frozen, so we'll deal with it as we will. It's cooked around the edges. Unfortunately, the thawing process, and I just stepped on an apple, is not a perfect science when it comes to thawing it when you're using a microwave. So, this is the pork loin wrapped into 3 individual pieces, so I'm going to be using all 3 since I thought it was a bigger piece. I failed to notice that I did cook it smaller, or cut it smaller. And don't do what I'm doing. When you're preparing food, avoid using the same cutting blade and the same cutting board as where you prepared your vegetables to avoid cross-contamination. So the nice fat that it has, you will score it. And you can score the top of the meat or the bottom of the meat, depending. The reason why I'm doing this is so that the fat actually cooks better instead of staying almost impossible. It allows flavors to be meshed. Goes deeper into your meat. Now be careful doing this, because if the meat slips while you're scoring, you'll end up with scoring yourself. Cook being scored doesn't work well, and it's not fully thawed, but it'll do the trick. So now with this bit done, you'll end up doing the following. Now, Gordon Ramsay and the rest of the chefs may salt it beforehand before throwing it into the pan, and you can rub it into the scoring marks of your meat, or you can simply take it and bring it into the pan straight forthwith and add the other ingredients to it. Sorry about that.